Welcome to the final training session before we take on Richmond on Sunday. And this training session was a little bit different, mainly because our VFL team plays on Saturday. So there were no VFL listed players, or sorry, players that are playing in the VFL weren't here. So no Jordan DeGoey, no Bobby Hill. It's just come out that they will be playing in the VFL against Frankston, which is absolutely huge. So this training session was only the 25 person squad that was announced on Thursday. Obviously, on Friday at 5 p.m. that gets trimmed down, and yeah, it was a bit different, but it was a very intense. Like what they were doing, lots of close tackling drills, lots of pressure drills, and then you obviously go into a little bit of match sim, a little bit of goal kicking towards the end there. A couple of positives from today, injury wise. TJ was running around. Still, is seems to be a little bit far off where he is getting back to game time. But Beau was running laps. I reckon he ran about 12 or so laps towards the start of the session before going back inside. Jeremy Howe was moving well when he was doing his sort of run throughs and training. There's a little bit of footage a little bit later on. So he looked primed to come back in for the Brisbane game. There was no Billy Frampton, which was a little bit unusual. Again, this was just a 25 squad that was named, so it's like a glorified, even more glorified captain's run that they will do on Saturday. But Billy Frampton, to sort of quell any fears, he trained really well last week, trained well earlier this week as well. So I guess they're just, being super precautious because they know how important Billy Frampton is to us and why we are going after Jack Silvani. So, based on everything that I saw today, there were a couple of players that didn't train with the like during the match sim. So Mason Cox and Roan Steele were doing the main session, but then when it came to that match sim sort of stuff, they just did goal kicking. So that indicates to me that they probably won't be playing on Sunday, which means that's let's just say that those two aren't playing. They won't be named in the squad. There'll be one more person that won't get named in the squad. Now, if we're to sort of believe that Mitchell, Houston are all sort of ready to go, I think that the third player would either be Ed Allen or Markov. Now, I say those two players because they didn't really perform to their absolute highest standard against the Tigers. But again, Ed Allen probably plays just because of that role that he plays on the wing. I think Markov is the unlucky one that sort of steps out. But in saying that as well, I thought he had a really good training session. Towards the end of the session, though, he was seen talking to a lot of the coaches for a while. I actually did get a lot of footage of Markov, surprisingly. Not on purpose, just because he was in pretty much all of the drills. So maybe he's not the one that steps out, but that's what my sort of mind is saying, just because I did see him talking to the coaches right at the end. So it is going to be a little bit different. You could make a case for Sullivan, but with no Bo McCreary, I think Sullivan stays in. So here is where we start getting into the pressure drills and the transition drills and the drills that's is how Collingwood play, and we saw a little bit of that against Fremantle, not right towards the end, but we will see a lot more of that against Richmond on Sunday, because that's what we need to start doing, and we need to not become too complacent with our game plan with the players that we've got in. So it was good to see that, like that, bang, just real high pressure, and everyone was just giving 110% today. So here's that footage of Mason Cox and Rowan Steele just doing some goal kicking whilst everyone else was doing that big training and pressure and match sim and stuff like that. So yeah, again, just indicates to me that they are playing VFL. They don't want to get too battered and bruised, because the VFL game is, if you're watching this on Friday, it's tomorrow on Saturday night. It was really good to see Houston back up and running. Doesn't get a handball out here because of some Maynard pressure. But during the drills and all that other sort of stuff, he was like hitting it hard, like running really hard, looks unimpeded. And it was good just to see that he got back after a week or so, and not the 2 weeks that we thought he was going to be out. So next week is when we start getting a lot of these players back. Look, if Bobby Hill and Jordan, maybe not Jordan DeGoey, maybe more Bobby Hill, but if they go well in the VFL, you're probably looking at Bobby Hill, Howe, and Frampton coming back next week. I don't think Jordan DeGoey yet. I think they still give him two games in the VFL. But, we could be bloody set up. And that's pretty much it for training. I know this is only about a 10-minute or so video. There wasn't really anything huge that sort of happened in training. Again, I just really think it was a super, super glorified captain's run, just a bit more intense than a captain's run that they'll put tomorrow when the final squads come out. But it was good to see everyone out there, especially Dan Houston, and especially hearing the news that Bobby Hill and Jordan Go will be playing VFL. But until next time, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets, and until then, I'll sweep you later.